A couple of years ago, I had a little project of mine that involved talking to different specialists within tennis industry, including players, coaches, sports scientists, physiotherapists, and basically talking to them about tennis in a very laid-back format. I had a total of 6 conversations, and I will be sharing all of them with you within the next month and a half or 2 months. And today's episode is going to be with Dean Coburn, who's a really good friend of mine, but more importantly, he's a great coach who we can all learn a lot from. So take out your popcorn and enjoy the conversation. It's kind of tough talking to a coach with such great experience like you. It's like, where do I start?
Well, you're catching up, man. So.
Well, I have a way, like you said. What did you say the other day in the message? Like, you still put in some work before, like, just before you start talking
about retirement. You're speaking about that. It was like, come on, man. You got to put in a little bit more. Put in some yards first, huh?
Exactly.
Before you reach I'll say 40 something in my age, so we won't get into that too deep.
We don't have to specify.
We'll say something in the 40s.
Something low 40s, very low,
but not quite 32.
So, like I'm saying, with your experience, don't even know where to start. Just maybe we'll start from the beginning. What made you start coaching?
Well, it's funny. I mean, from the standards of, as you know, we work with a lot of young, sort of talented Canadian players, and a lot of them are starting tennis pretty young. And for me, I was more into hockey when I was a younger kid, back in the 70s and 80s, and I actually started tennis at 14. So I don't know if we even spoke about that.
Yeah, we did.
So I started super late, loved it so much. I was one of those kids that just hung out at the tennis club all summer at 14, 15, 16, just loved it. You know, I loved the whole thing about it. Not only the tennis, but just with hanging with my friends at the club. And it was a little bit different back then. It wasn't so structured. It was more like you go out there and you hang out at the club all day. You play matches all day long. I don't think we ever did any drills, actually. I think we just played. I think we played sets after set after set. I remember going home in the afternoon, and I remember riding my bike back in the evening. So this is like how my summers were as a late starter anyway, starting at 14. And then how it really started is I liked it so much that I started instructing in my city as an 18-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember riding around with that ball hopper on my shoulder, going on my bike to public courts. And I remember I enjoyed it a lot. I remember doing evening sessions and working with adults. I was 18 years old.
So 4 years later, after you started.
Correct. After I just started tennis, I started instructing sort of beginners, you know, kids during the day in the summer, and then adults at night after their work and so forth. So it was that's really where it started. And basically there was a college program, and that's where it really got started, is when I was 21 years old. Seneca College had a coaching techniques program that was run by Tennis Canada's Ari Novick. He was actually my first sort of mentor. And it was a 2-year diploma program. And long story short, I guess it's sounding pretty long already, but
no, it's good, we have time.
That 2-year program, I started working straight out of there. I was a 23-year-old, I believe, straight out of that college program. I started working for All Canadian Tennis Academy.
Oh, wow.
So that's where it was started. And that was, as you know, at the old site where we worked together at now it's Aviva Center, but this was at the old site where, how do you say, it's more of the Kiel and Steeles area.
Yeah. Is that where the athletic center now? Or
I don't know what's there now. I think they're more York University offices, but
okay.
That's where it was, and that's where we had our former Rogers Cup. What was it called back in the day? I don't even remember. Players International, actually, after a cigarette company, believe it or not.
Because why the hell not, right? Back in the days, it was like either like a liquor company or Bacardi or something like, I don't know, Camel or whatever.
That's right. I remember going into that site and there was a stand of cigarettes when you first entered the facility. It was like unbelievable. You don't see that in tennis anymore.
And that's a good thing.
Yes, for sure.
That's a good evolution, I guess, of the sport.
Big time.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool that you mentioned that you were spending so much time on your own.
Yeah.
Just figuring it out and on your own, just doing all these, coming up with your own drills, if you will, you know, just doing, like, enjoying the game. You don't see this kind of stuff anymore, eh? Like,
no, not at all. I remember my buddy would say, are we going to put on another classic today? We would pretend that all the city of Brampton were coming to watch us play. And we pretend like we're just going to put on a show. And we just gave our best and enjoyed it. We didn't care. You think I remember who won and lost those sets?
No, it doesn't matter.
Boy, we just tried. And we just enjoyed the moment. And like you say, it's a lot different with the number of the kids today.
It's so organized these days.
Yes.
Right? There's no much room for creativity and I don't know if the kids are they're not showing that because parents are taking over like of that, or is it just the new generation, the new times? Like what do you think?
I think so. I mean, back in the day it wasn't structured at all, and like I said, my summers were I left the house in the morning, and you don't see kids doing that anymore, and just coming back for dinner, and the parents not worrying, not wondering what you're doing. It's like it was just, I mean, compared to today, it seems like a different world, you know?
That's right.
I mean, I wasn't that young, as you know, as I said, I was 14, 15. I'm not saying 9, 10 years old. I just left the house all day and did my own thing. But I know it's different for younger kids today, but I think still they carry that too late, I think, into the 14, 15. I think the kids, what they could learn from back in those days, I think they could be a little bit more independent.
Yeah.
I'm not saying structure is not important. I mean, it's amazing today with the drills and the structures and the academies and the federations, what they're doing as far as all of this and developing players. But at the same time, you know, I think the kids have to have this sort of, how do you say, self-autonomy? Is that the word?
Yeah, for sure.
To be a little bit more like this, I think, would help their kids, the kids today, the players today, on top of all of the structure that they're doing. I think that's when you can really sort of build on not only playing within a structure, but also to be able to figure things out on your own. Yeah. That's really what tennis is about, as you know. Yeah. It's like problem solving. And in my opinion, this is what tennis is. And I think, you know, with the number of players and the number of Canadian players, I still think at times that can be something that can be a little bit better.
How would you integrate that into your training?
I think the kids should at times organize their own sets, do their own thing, not only with the coach saying you must, you know, we're going to do this at this time, we're going to do this at this time. I think maybe, for example, on weekends or even twice a week, maybe even during the week, they could sort of set up their own sets and not have a coach there telling them every single thing what to do all the time.
This is so
we
important.
all get caught up in it. I do. I know as you know, I'm working more privately within an academy now, but you know, I catch myself being like this a lot, where we're constantly telling them what to do, constantly correcting them, and at times I think the players should be able to, you know, like when they're in their match, there's no one there telling them what to do in their match.
Exactly.
And we need to integrate that in training sometimes, in my opinion.
Exactly. I was listening to Bob Brett in one of the podcasts or interviews. I don't remember what it was. I think it was a podcast from Adam Bleacher. And he was saying that it's so important to promote that creativity, that sometimes he would have players plan their own training session, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And kind of to piggyback on the same topic, I was talking to Severin, who's in charge of our under 10 development, and she was saying that the number one thing is like it's to make kids be more creative and to kind of have them, give them that freedom to be creative, because that's one of the areas that are we as coaches, because we care, because we want to give them so much that sometimes we're killing a little bit that creativity and that desire to, you know, for kids to have that.
For sure. And as you know, when we started at the center, when I finished with Peter, as you know, Polansky, a Canadian pro, I started at the center in 2010, and I was under Bob Brett, as you remember. That's right. I think it was before your time, right?
Yeah.
And I remember very, very many good things under Bob. I learned so many things, and that was one, like you just mentioned. The other one was work. Mm-hmm. Oh man, the work we would put those kids through in those days. And have a lot of stories with Bob would put work on the coaches too. But, oh my God. Some things weren't so fun at the time, but I tell you, looking back, I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. Having us run 400s with the players, and out of nowhere, I'd have a structure. For example, if I give you one example, I had a player, I think we spoke about this in the past. I had a drill day set up. I had the basket out in the back courts, and Bob's like, Dean, put that basket away. We're going to go run 400s, and you're running with Catherine, I think it was at the time. Yeah. So I'm just like, but I had my whole drill set up here. It's like, Dean, let's go. So he would switch things on us so fast.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a little side story, but it gives you a little picture of Bob, how he was. He was an unbelievable coach, developed so many top players, but he was really good in those times, in my opinion, in that way, as far as having kids develop those sort of ideas. And also, I look back in his work ethic, and pushing the kids and having us really push the kids was something I remember.
How would you, what would you do to push the kids? Any specific methods or anything that you really remember?
Nothing so specific, but I remember a lot of these 50 ball drills.
Okay. just pure mental grind.
Exactly.
Okay.
Nothing too sports specific. It was more like, if you don't make your 50, you have to start again. Okay. So side to sides. Coach, for example, can be in a corner volleying, and if the players missed within 50, they had to keep going. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that trained work a lot.
For sure. Yeah. Can you tell me, because you mentioned working with Peter, obviously everybody knows you worked with Peter Polansky for a pretty long time. How did that start, and how did your relationship evolve? And just, I'm interested purely from developing the world-class level player, from, you started working with him when he was 14 or
no,
much younger? Even younger. Okay.
So this links to sort of what I was speaking about, where I started. When I started at All Canadian, I think it was in 92.
Okay.
I started with Peter. He was this young kid, I remember, with these blue eyes looking at me like he had no tennis, he had no technique, no strokes. He was a hockey player also. Mm-hmm. But this kid he just put every ball in the strings of his racket. I remember this clearly when he was 9.5 years old. I think he'd say we started at 10. I'm sure it was 9.5. That's when I started with him. And he was this guy with no fundamentals, no technical skill, but just unbelievable ability to hit the center of his strings. And I remember this. I can't remember what year it was, but it was soon after I started All Canadian. Anyway, I started working with him. Continued working with him, developing him. He became in the mix as one of the better sort of under 12s in the country soon after, mm-hmm. within 3 years of basically starting tennis. And then it just went from there. He took it quite serious. We put in a lot of work. I became very committed to helping him. We would do morning practices, and he became a really big project as a young coach. That's how we started off.
How old were you at the time when you started working with him?
In my mid to late 20s.
Okay, so you at that time you already had
a little bit
your 7 year,
Correct.
6 to 7 year experience.
Right. I was at All Canadian already developing players under mm-hmm. Ari, and at the time Louis Caillot is a part owner, and Pierre Lamarche was an owner of the academy, as well as working with the federation at the time. And 4 or 5 years in, and then this young guy came in, and I just started working with this kid, mm-hmm. and he was great to work with. We got close, and then the rest is history. I mean, he's now, I can't believe he's 30 years old, but so I worked with him from 10 years old to full-time till 25.
Okay.
15 years.
Wow. That's incredible. Wow.
Not bad.
So was there anything special about him? When we look at the kids, at any age, and when we're just starting to work with players, or we're just trying to see if the kid has any potential, looking back at him, do you see anything that was that stood out to you personally?
I think timing.
Okay.
If there's one thing, if you had to mention one thing, it's timing. And I think with any young kid today, I'm back working with under 12s and having a blast with it. But I tell you, if there's two things, one is their ability to center the ball when in most situations, mm-hmm. and then also, as you hear, I'm sure, is that sort of elastic arm, mm-hmm. you want to call it, or live arm.
That's right.
Being able to do this, I think, if you don't have those skills, I find it very hard for you to become successful in our sport.
Yeah.
If you don't have those two.
That's right.
So he had, like I said in the beginning, he had no fundamentals in the technique and wasn't solid, let's say, in the technical areas, but he was able to just center that ball. That's something I noticed when he was starting, just as a hockey player. Pretty much.
Freaking. I was just gonna say it's hockey. It's all hockey because the awareness, the spatial awareness that hockey teaches you so many things.
Yeah.
Just the balance, the physicality. You're on this thin blade, trying to maneuver and be so coordinated with the puck.
That's right.
And trying to avoid the guys from all sides and angles not to hit you, and you have to have such good awareness of what's happening. And when you go on a tennis court, there's no blades, there's no one to hit you, so you can concentrate just on one freaking ball. How easy is that for a hockey player?
And it seemed easy for him anyway. Yeah. And I told you, he starting at 10, he was already in the mix. I would say he was already on some of the TC tours at 12 years old. That's not bad, huh? Mm-hmm. 2 years of tennis.
Yeah.
And already he was never a number one in the 12s. 13 years old, wasn't number one, but was always in that 4-5, I'd say, in the country. And then at 14, that's when he started to make a big jump. Like you see a lot of that. You see this a lot with our Biancas, for example, who was assigned with the center, as you know, when she was younger. You see this sort of jump, this separation of these athletes, oftentimes at that 14, 15-year-old age.
Why do you think that's happening, in your opinion? Because of the physicality that it's catching up and everything kind of starting to align?
I think everything. But physicality, I'd say, is number one. Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay. Well, what would you say were the difficulties or challenges bringing up a player from junior when you focused on those fundamentals and on the physical abilities, again, physical fundamentals, and trying to grind through junior ITFs and then transitioning to the pros? What were the challenges?
I think one of the things I tried to instill with Peter, he was always a young kid that hit the ball pretty big, live arm like we spoke about, but at times would give him away for a little bit too many free points. Okay. And I think what he developed into the later years in the juniors was that we really worked on just playing solid. I mean, as basic as it sounds, I think even in the grade A events and the Grand Slams, I've lost a little bit how the level is now. We're going back a good number of years, 12 years or so. But back then, just not giving away too many free points got him to go pretty deep in some big tournaments. Mm-hmm. For example, U.S. Open, where he finaled, and Repentigny he finaled also. Mm-hmm. Then the pro level, it's another animal, let's say. I mean, you need weapons. You need one or two.
Exactly, because it's not enough just to...
You can be fast. You can have great timing. You can be very, very solid. But court positioning, weapons, and all these things are very important if you want to succeed, obviously, at the next stage, And then, it's not so easy. Not so easy to develop those things.
So what were the main areas that you focused on once he started playing pro events and you realized that it's not enough just to be solid, because the other guy is solid, but he also has this and that?
Right. It's continuing with his work and his fitness and his defense, because he was a great mover, and he is today. Mm-hmm. He's playing the French Open tomorrow again. Mm-hmm. By the way, qualies, and I just checked the draw before we started speaking. I still follow every one of his matches. I still message him every tournament.
Yeah.
He's playing first match tomorrow.
Okay.
4 a.m. our time, I believe.
4 a.m. our time, okay.
10 a.m. First on anyway. Where was I? And then making his forehand, which was always sort of his weapon, trying to make that even bigger. Mm-hmm. So we spent a lot of time and really trying to control the court with his forehand and court position.
Okay.
Trying to get him to play early and more look to move forward, as you see Dennis and Felix doing unbelievable these days.
That's right.
They're unbelievable with this sort of comfort going forward and at the net. And I think for him, as a guy that's 120, I've sort of been hovering around there for around the 100 range for a good number of years, which is not bad at all.
That's a good consistency.
Right. 100 in the world in anything, I'd say, is not bad, huh?
That's right.
If I'm the 100th best doctor, I think that's not bad.
I mean, on any profession people, I think people are underestimating how tough it is to be top 150, as a tennis player, and how the level of physicality, the level of mental strength you have to possess to be there. And for some people, if you're not top 10, it's what is that level? But it's I have so much respect for any pro player that's on that level and just keep grinding, and
for sure.
It's so tough.
And think about it.
It's so tough, and the level is incredible still.
Right. If you go in, we're watching the Raptors, obviously, this having a great year, and imagine the 100th best basketball player if they had a ranking.
Mm-hmm.
What line is he playing on? You know, I mean, this is one of the elite players.
Oh, for sure.
And in hockey or any other team sport. So, and top 100 in this tennis game is it's not bad, but at the same time, speaking of those things, in my opinion, I think if you would have grasped that a little bit more, that court position, looking to move forward a little bit more to complement that he really has a huge forehand, and just to be able to, and he can volley very well too. It's just, to be able to, if he grasps that, he still has time in this game. There's many players in their 30s getting their highest ranking, and
that's right,
moving up. And he's doing a much better job of it. I'm watching videos of him, and I helped him a little bit through the Rogers Cup last year, and he's improving that. Mm-hmm. And it's something I think is, in this game, it's about court position. I don't see players in the future starting to back up more. It's looking more like ping pong in tennis now. Sure. I mean, from how we were trained at the center. Remember, I tell all these young kids how Bogdan and I and Andre and the guys at the center there was years where we had Bianca play inside the baseline. You remember?
Yeah. Like all these drills from like a yellow line, 3/4 courts, and like to do the pickup shots. And
I said Bianca was doing this all the time. She was playing inside the baseline. Sorry, and I mean, I'm not saying that's the reason why she's becoming, an unbelievable player. I don't think that's the only reason, but for sure, in my opinion, that's a big reason.
But it's the future of the game. Like if you look at it, because the fitness is getting like people spending more time in the gym than ever before, and that of course has a big effect on their ability to get behind the ball faster and move inside the court sooner. So of course they're going to be doing that to steal more time from their opponent and to take advantage. So that's why you see developing of those skills, and you see girls playing closer to what men used to play a little bit. So it's kind of
exactly,
so it's catching up a little bit in terms of, I mean, obviously the level of physicality on the men's side is also improving.
Right.
But what I'm saying is the level of physicality of women's tennis is getting just ridiculous also. Like if you look at some of these rallies, they're changing rhythm, they're slicing, they're getting so low, they're going a little bit more higher over the net. It's becoming more of a men's game. Like
100%. I agree. And as you know, I'm working again with a lot of young kids under 12 now. And back in the day, I remember some of the... back when I started coaching, people were saying, girls can't kick because they don't have the wrist strength. That's right. All these ridiculous things saying girls can't do this, girls can't do that. And today it's like, it blows my mind how some coaches were speaking. I'm teaching girls exactly the way I teach boys, as far as at times when to open up, when you should be using excessive topspin, when you shouldn't drive the ball. I mean, all these things, maybe in the court position of the boys, sometimes a little further back, but I don't teach the girls too much different. I know the girls' game is a little bit different in some details, but
yeah, of course.
As far as skill set, I mean, I don't think teaching girls any different. It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense, at least in this day and age.
Not these days. I mean, we're not in the dark ages here. Come on.
Exactly. No, 100,000%. Because, I mean, yes, there's differences, but they're more. I think the differences are becoming more mental.
Right.
I mean, they've always been more on the mental side. The way we think and the way we approach things are different. But tactically, there's, and skill wise, it's very, very, very similar.
Look at Sharapova when she was still, I think, number 1 or top 5 or something like this, and she was driving everything through the court. She added opening up the court and adding more spins to her game.
That's right.
Right, and you could see that she was evolving, with the game, and again, it's like much more like the men's game.
Yeah.
Today, anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking about evolving, and it just makes me think about you evolving as a coach, because you spend this time with Peter, working with one male player for what you were saying, like 15 years.
Correct.
Incredible. And then you get a job offer from Bob Brett to be in charge of under 14 girls.
That's correct.
So can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I remember he said we were lacking a little bit on the girls' side, and we have an opportunity here at the center in Toronto, which you're part of now. I'm very proud of being part of that in the day. But it was funny when Bob said, would you be interested in working with the girls' 14 side? We're lacking a little bit in that area. And I said, of course. I said, no problem. I'd love that. I mean, as you know, I started All Canadian, and you know how it is in academies. You're spending a lot of time with this age group.
That's right.
And before Peter, it wasn't just I was working with one boy. I was involved in groups, involved with other players.
Of course.
And, of course, girls, too, at the time. So I said to Bob, it'd be great. And I look back at that time. It was in 2010. I was involved in the center till, 2017, as you know. And oh my gosh, I so many sides from Peter and so many sides from that end. I look back as like I love so much.
Yeah,
in so many different ways. Working with younger players and then one pro player is like
What's your favorite memory from working with Peter?
We were very close, and traveling around the world with someone that you care about and are close with, as well as coach. It was a time in my life, and then. From the junior side, from the young side, I love I like the camaraderie, as you know, with the team competitions.
Oh my God, those team competitions!
Oh man,
boy,
I missed that part. So going to Grand Slams, I'm not going to lie, was great as a young coach with one player, with Peter. That was a great experience being able to help a player at every Grand Slam. I'll never forget that. Hopefully, I'll have one more go with some of these young ones I got now. We'll see. But
you coach quite a bit now.
Yeah,
quite a few.
Yeah, 17 players.
So
as well as
the odds are pretty good. The odds are pretty good.
We'll see, but it's a long road, as you know. And even Peter, like we spoke, 100 in the world. I know the standards in Tennis Canada. It's like I don't know if we'll ever see anything like this again, but I know the standards are so high with these players we've got going now. But I still look back at like 100 in the world is not bad.
Yeah.
And but yeah, with the young ones, being assigned with those 14 and under girls and even boys through those years it was great representing Canada.
Yeah,
you know how much
we spoke. Oh yeah,
I mean we did it together. We were captaining together, and those moments were special, as you know.
No, for sure. It's
when you have Canada on your back. For me, it's something else.
Yeah, I was talking to Carol the other day about it. Like she came for the show a month ago, and we were just talking about Fed Cup experience and team competition experience. It's just. When you're playing for somebody, you're not playing. I mean, when you have Canada on your back, you're not playing just for yourself. You're playing for the whole country, and you're playing for everybody who's cheering for you. And there's a sense of camaraderie. It becomes so special, so emotional, and so bigger than you.
Yeah,
it's so hard to explain to.
Yeah. Oh, I know. On the benches, you know how.
That's right.
How amazing that is. But you know how it is when all the teams get together at dinners, and oh my God, these things.
That's right.
I mean, those things are priceless, you know?
Yeah.
When all the teams get together. You remember we had our Junior Fed Cup, Davis Cup, you and I World Junior teams. We were together all the time.
Yeah, all day from the morning, like refilling the coolers and making the towels wet, like cold towels and the snacks, and you making sure the players have everything. And it's just the players helping out each other and doing the cheer, the team cheer. People, who's got your back? You know,
that's right.
we'll always be the loudest, and oh my God, come on.
Yeah, and I always liked that when our cheer was better than the Americans.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of competition everywhere, right? Because you want it's all about. It starts with the cheer.
Obviously, I have big respect for the Americans. You know that.
Yeah, of course.
It's like.
But you still want to win on every, like as a competitive coach, you want to win in every single aspect, you know.
I still speak about when we beat USA one year. I still say that's a highlight. In the qualies, I know this year was in Montreal, right?
Yes.
When I had the 14 under team, we beat USA in the final doubles. I still talk about that one. It was a good win.
Yeah.
Very good win.
Nice.
And so I could say one time, you know, we beat USA in that competition. And I was the captain. Let's go.
I think girls this year, 14s.
How did they do? Everyone won, right?
I think they beat USA. Everybody qualified, but I think the 14s, I think they beat USA.
Wow.
I know. I think they did, yeah.
Who was on our girls team this year?
we had Vicky,
right?
Cadence, and Kayla.
It's a good team.
Yeah, it's a strong team. It's gonna be freaking tough to beat at the Worlds. Like, it's a strong team. Yeah.
Vicky's she did very well in some of the international events.
Yeah,
I think semi of Tarbs or
no, don't quote me on this one, but she finished. I think she finaled or won Bolton.
Right.
They were.
I think I saw.
They were with Cadence in final.
Yes.
Something is like escaping my mind, but I think they were in playing each other in the final.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And then I think Cadence went to quarters, and then Vicky lost third round or something like that.
Still, it shows the level of the three of them.
No, the level is really good, and I think Kayla finaled doubles in Tarbs.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's the team is pretty good.
Yeah.
But going back to you working with the girls, and just going back to your years as a federation coach, as a national coach, were there any things that you like really learned or changed your perspective on the way you coach? Because it was a
right
quite a change for you working again for a certain amount of years with Peter, and then now you have 14-year-old girls. They're not exactly thinking the same way as 25-year-old male.
Correct. And as I spoke about tactically and all these things, techniques and these things about how it's similar, to this day I teach boys and girls different. The way I speak to them. I mean, people are debating, coaches are debating this all the time. I read it in social media. You see some coaches say, I teach them the same. I coach the same. I give the same tone. But I'll tell you, I don't.
Because just to clarify, it's just the way you talk to them, the way.
Correct.
Because we talked about coaching them tactically and coaching them skillfully.
All these things.
Those are things that would remain the same for you.
What I do.
That's right. I just want to clarify that, just so that nobody gets confused.
Yes.
But in terms of your tone, in terms of your the psychological aspect, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even with boys and girls today, I mean, out of the 17 players I have, some are 14-year-old boys, and man, I speak to them different than I do with my 12. Now I'm working with 12-year-old, and unders, and yeah, the tone is much different. Well, I think I'm more. I'm not going to say I'm positive with my boy. I'm known as a coach that's very positive. I think I'm a player's coach. I think I think I inspire. I believe I inspire them, and I believe them. I'm a very big positive role model. I mean, I believe anyway. I try to do that. I try anyway.
No, for sure. You've always been. I remember, sorry to interrupt, but I remember you doing the national camp, or
I love that.
Just coaching the girls, and everybody would be like, oh, Deansy,
right?
Because you were so open and very, very positive and very caring and very supportive, and you would always listen. It's not like you would shut anybody down who would come to you, or it's always about that you will always bring the person up,
right? And that's what I see now in the academy side. I see things, I see these things when I go to tournaments, and I see the academies and the coaches doing their thing with the kids, and it's like it back in the day. There's a lot of coaches, in my opinion, that they're it's very dry, and it's a lot like books. They're teaching and they're speaking they're reading books, for their instructor books, using all these terms, and it's very dry. I mean, I think in the beginning I was a little bit more like that, but now as I'm older, I think you have to have personality. I think you have to have fun with the kids, obviously.
Yeah.
And you have to understand them and listen to them, and like you said, I think caring in a good way, and then also pushing them at the right moment.
That's right.
And I think with the girls, I think you got to find the right time to really give them really push, and then there's the time when you need to listen and settle it down a little bit. And I think with the guys, there's times for that also. But I'd say with the guys, especially the 14 and older guys, there's times that you can push a little bit more, I'd say. But to make them a little bit more uncomfortable, I'd say.
Okay. How do you recognize when to push? Like you're saying with the girls, you have to be careful in terms of when do you push, when do you listen. Can you give a specific example?
I don't know. I think in general, I don't know if it's specific, but in general, I'd say I think sometimes when you see them getting a little bit down on themselves, or they're lacking confidence or belief, because as you know, I'm pretty close to with the players, and they tell me, they speak, they communicate, and they say, you know what, I'm really not feeling confident in this shot or this or this or this, and then it's not a time to start yelling and say, come on, 10 more side to sides. I don't care that you're not. If you do that, you know, and speaking in this manner, and I don't think in those kind of moments, there's a time to just like settle it down, talk to them a little bit, maybe groove a shot to help them sort of feel, for example, a certain shot or a certain tactic, slow it down, maybe go into the basket, start feeding some balls rather than live ball, running them all over the place, as more of a specific example anyway, and help them, you know, feel the shot. They may or may not, but you just try to help them through this process and listen to them. And I think, you know, help building their confidence is something that's really important with a lot of the young kids anyway.
I think this is such a crucial point that you're bringing up, just the ability to listen. Yeah. Because a lot of times we don't as coaches, and we just kind of stay on what we want to say, and like we tend to, like, we grew up in different age. We grew up where it's like shut up and run type of time, and right now I feel like it's important to, like you said, there is time to listen, and there is time to instruct, and there is time to do all these different things. But when you listen to the kid, you'll be surprised how many things he can or she can tell you that will also make you connected a little bit more, because it builds trust.
Exactly.
It builds that caring feeling that the player knows, okay, this guy, it's not just about tennis. He actually cares how I feel in that moment, and he's here to help me to be strong, to be confident. And it's more, but it becomes more than just tennis in terms of you're developing a person. You're not just developing a freaking forehand. Nobody gives a shit about forehand. Right. It's all about developing people in the end.
Oh, for sure. And who knows how far these kids are going to go. But at the end of the day, you know, that's the most important for sure. Yeah. And if you become something that's, you know, they look back, I think of it this way. I don't think kids are going to remember what drills they did with their coach. Let's say kids, for example, that don't become professional players. They go to college or whatnot.
Which is most of the kids.
Which is most.
Let's realize that.
And I always said to one of the coaches at our academy the other day, and I said, do you think they're going to remember this cross down the line drill that you did with them at the end of the day? Or are they going to remember, you know, I don't know, for an example, something that I was doing something fun with them. Oh, I know what it is. I did a camp for the under 12 provincial program, and I again, I'm doing more regroupings again, but more on the Ontario side. I like that a lot. And one day I did a soccer football. How do you say? Team football. Okay. You remember with the Nerf?
Yes, that's so much fun. Oh my God, I love that
with game. With the Nerf ball?
Yes.
And at the end, you think the messages I got through the OTA about that camp that day, it was a 4-hour we did, 4-hour boys, 4-hour girls. Do you think they were speaking about the cross down the line exercise that we did? Do you think they're going to remember this? I had posts and notes saying, oh my God, so fun. You know, that was so good. You know, it's a team environment. It's a team thing. It's fun. This is what these kids are going to remember when they're 35 years old. That's right. They're going to say, oh my God, do you remember that football game?
Exactly.
We played. And of course, I'm not saying you go into a training session and you're just fooling around playing football and all these things, but you have to have this structure, but at times you have to have this fun with young kids.
That's right.
It's so important. Yeah. It's so important. And it develops the camaraderie and all these things like we did on the road together in our national teams, you know, and these things are so important.
Yeah, just like when you ask the kid when we would come back from all these international trips, like, what do you remember? Yes. Oh, remember that time we went for ice cream, or yes. or hey, remember
or the dancing
or the dancing.
Remember this?
Yes. Oh boy,
share that one. It was Oded's idea. Who's another guy? It's like another legend. Oded, Jacob. Yeah. Our center leader in Vancouver. Oh man,
what a guy!
What a guy! This guy's, in my opinion, legend. So many great staff at TC. It's a joke. Yeah. I mean, so many great coaches. Anyway, he made all the coaches and players after dinner one night, and we had a little ice cream. It was hotter than hell in Campeche, just to share with everybody. It was like,
What was it? 40 degrees?
40 at night?
No, at night it was like 33, I think. Okay, 33 at night. At 9 p.m.
Like sundown, pitch black.
Yeah.
33 anyway. Every week on Wednesday night, I think I remember the night. Not bad.
Oh my God, that's
not
pretty
bad.
Good. I don't even remember that. It was a couple of years ago. 2 years ago.
It's all right. Let's keep working.
Keep going.
Where it was on the beach in this little Mexican city where they held the qualifying, and Odette said, "Let's go, everybody. We're going to go do this. How do you call this thing? Zumba dancing."
Yes.
They did it every Wednesday night where there was a Zumba leader, I guess you want to call her.
Yeah, there was just a lady with a boombox.
Running Zumba classes on the beach.
Yes.
And he had, Odette said, all the kids and coaches, let's go. You're all dancing, you know?
That's right.
And then he said to Nico and Bogdan, he's like, okay, take the shirts off, boys. Let's go. Is that correct?
Well, not really. Not really.
So tell me what. So I was just, you remember my face? I shared it to Odette. Someone took a picture of me with I was like this.
The video, I remember. Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on right now?
So basically it was mine and Nico's first time being captain for
your
Canada.
Initiation.
That was our initiation.
I remember.
So he was like, okay.
That's why I said, thank God you're not having me take my shirt off. Oh boy.
So basically he was like, yeah, let's, you guys have to dance in front of all these ladies. There was like 100 ladies, 50 ladies for sure.
Correct.
Dancing Zumba.
Right.
And he just came up to this leader, to this main lady, and he's like, okay, these guys, it's their birthday, whatever.
Right.
can they dance? And they're like, go, you guys have to go. And next thing you know, we're just dancing in front of 50 ladies.
Right.
And then things get a little bit heated, and
I remember.
I think I heard from somebody, or maybe maybe like shirts off or something.
Odette
and
said
I was
off.
like, okay, shirts off, no problem.
And Nico's like, no.
And I was like,
I know we want to keep it pro. I mean, we're
yes.
we're national teams, but it was a nice moment. Nico
amazing.
Didn't want to. Odette's like, yes, you must.
I just heard shirts off, and I didn't even care. Like
this guy, he didn't hesitate for 1 second. This guy.
I hear shirt off. I take my shirt off. I don't need a special invitation.
Right.
And what an unbelievable time.
What a night. And okay, the kids are going to remember the victories, the losses, and these things. But what are they going to remember?
Oh, for sure.
They're going to remember the dinners, watching the Leaf game on a big screen they put on for us in the playoffs. Right. And they're going to remember.
Yes. Like 10 years from, we're talking 10 years from now, if they see me on the street or like,
right.
And we start talking, it's like, oh man, remember that time in Campeche when you freaking went bananas on that little beach?
Right.
It's like, hell yeah, I remember.
And when I see Marco and these guys at these events in Canada, you know, I haven't seen these guys since those events, a lot of them. And when they see me, it's the same thing. Oh my God, how good of a time was the qualies? Like, you know, they bring up these things.
Yeah, it's so important. Especially we were talking in the beginning of the show about how we're restricting creativity of the kids.
Correct.
How everything is organized for the kids. How it's like
it's dry.
It's dry. It's a little bit. Where's the fun, man?
Right.
Where's the?
It's not just the books and the drills and the structure and all these things.
Like, okay, let's just do some silly shit for a little bit. Like you're saying, let's just play a song. If you feel as a coach, okay, it's a little bit. There's lacking. The kid is kind of maybe it's bothering something from school. Maybe it's something on his mind. Maybe he broke up with his girlfriend. Maybe whatever. Like these little teenage dramas that we kind of don't care about, but that's affecting your lesson right now. You have to save it. So why don't we just play tag if they're young, or why don't we just play soccer, tennis, or just a little slice game, or train tweeners for 5 minutes? Like who cares? It's 5 minutes a year.
This is what I mean. And some coaches don't see that.
Don't waste your time. You know, it's like everything's like boom, 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 800 balls an hour. Like come on. Like it's not gonna make a big deal, but it's gonna save his day.
Right. In the academy side, I agree with you 100%. And you see it like this.
Yeah.
And you see it a lot like that. But at the same time, these ones that are like that, stay in the structure, stay in this. The kids are showing up late. You know, they're opening up the baskets at whatever, 2 minutes after the practice. It's like, what about those? And then you get worked up about having a fun game.
That's right.
But it's okay to waste time and do all those other things. These things that it blows my mind.
We talked about like kids having fun, but I think it's also important that we as coaches, we maintain that fun environment. And like I just remember how fun it was working with you and Bruno at the center.
Yeah.
Like especially Bruno, like, wow, what a guy.
Yes.
How many
But you speak about, again, just not to cut you off, but you talk about a guy that was sort of he was a tough coach, huh?
Yeah,
for a young guy
with players,
he was very tough,
but
what a fun guy. And I think when people look back, on Bruno, you hear a lot of things about such a caring coach and all these things. So again, it's those things that that people remember.
Exactly. And I remember, I think, talking to one of the players. I'm not going to mention names, but one of the players, and they were like, man, his jokes were so funny,
right? And it's so funny when people didn't know Bruno. Like you, he was one of my close friends. Younger, but I'm young at heart, so that's why I get along with you guys. Young guys pretty well. And I remember that. A lot of people would say Bruno, he's very quiet. Like if you didn't know him, he seemed like a very quiet guy, very, very serious. But when people would say that about him, I was like, you don't know Bruno. No.
He looked a little bit intimidating,
right?
Like when you don't know him,
it seemed very serious,
very like no
but
bullshit.
Quiet. But he was the opposite of this.
Exactly. Once you get to know him, still tough, still very demanding,
right?
Unbelievable values.
Unbelievable.
Like values are like so on point. Like if you imagine a guy, who would have like the values that you want your players to have, like he's like that role model. That's the word I was looking for.
And he had the game to back it up. That's the other thing.
It's like,
he could play.
Like how many guys like this do we know? Right.
He just, pro tennis wasn't for him. He admitted it early in his career out of college, but he had the game. But he just he liked the work of tennis. Mm-hmm. He liked putting in the drill. He liked in college just doing the drills and working hard. But he didn't like it. It's not that he wasn't competitive. There's no one more competitive than this guy. Remember?
I remember I remember like he was playing with Bianca this passing shot game where I would feed like a easy passing shot, and he had to defend, and sometimes like Andrew would be like, okay, just make sure you make your play, and Bruno's just like hitting passing shots on her because he wants to win so bad. It's like it's just in him.
Right. He would never just give a ball to a player just to make them look good. No way.
That's right. He make them earn it. But what a guy. I mean, just looking back at it, and I just knew him for like 8 months, and you go back.
Was that it? Oh wow. Because you were just starting then, right?
Yeah, I started I
thought it was longer
in September, but not that long. But you go back with him. You went through 3 head coaches. You worked with him under Bob Brett, under Christophe Lambert, and under Andre.
Yeah, he was there since 2010 also.
Mm-hmm.
But we go way back since juniors because he was one of Peter's competitors.
Really?
Yeah.
That part I didn't know.
He's 1 year older than Peter. He's 87. He was 87 born. Peter was 88. And I go back with Bruno since he was 12 years old. Peter used to go to Niagara Falls and hang out with him when they were 12 years old. This is how...
part I had no idea about.
Yeah, I knew him since he was a young guy.
Mm-hmm.
And... funny story when Peter played him. Bruno played him. Peter played him in an under 12 selection. Peter was first year 12, Bruno last year 12. And Peter lost love to Bruno. And he came off the court. He comes off the court to me smiling, saying, I played so well, And I was a young coach, like, how can you say you lost love and you're telling me you played well? The hell's wrong with you? I was a little different when I was younger too, so as a coach, but... Oh man! But that's how much respect Bruno had as a junior in Canada.
Yeah,
Peter's the one guy coming up, and just happy he got to a couple deuces or something like this.
That's right. But it's incredible.
Really though. Yeah. I mean, Bruno was a great young player, and we went back since he was 12 years old.
Any stories there you remember like that stands out to you, like when you used to work together?
There's so many. I mean, nothing specific. Again, like with you on the teams. I mean, Bruno and I traveled the world together. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
At the time, there was basically 2 full years. He was in charge of the boys' 14s. I had the girls, and we were on the same schedule at the center and in the world.
Okay.
So we were everywhere.
Okay, so
we did the same Europe tours. We did the same South America tours. We did the same thing. So, and we were good friends, as you know. And we traveled pretty much everywhere together. But nothing specific, but I mean, we spoke earlier. I said we were talking about it. What I miss most, and it might sound strange, it was those sort of just the jokes.
Yeah.
You know, just how
his sense of humor.
how we went back and forth, and he would rip on me about some things, and there's nobody like this guy. And I mean, I don't have anybody that's speaking like he and I did. I mean,
that's right. No, there was
it's just something different.
He had
with
this funny
guy.
way of ripping at you,
right? But we were so close. But at the same time,
without getting mad at him, I know, like he said something because you kind of like you realize like that's actually funny. Like it's like you don't take it personally. It's like, man, that's so funny. Actually, that's a smart joke.
I was doing a drill at the center, 4 courts down. I remember he would yell across 4 courts, like making fun of my kid. He's like, "Can I get 2 tickets for your like circus show over there?" Like, things like this. It's like yelling across, making you feel so bad.
Yeah, that's right.
At the moment,
in front of the player,
in front of everybody.
It's like classic.
Another one like that one. And one thing I miss actually running those under 12 national camps. What we did in the summer, normally we did one. It was either Montreal or Toronto in the winter camp. In the summer camp, we always did it at a Granite Club.
Yes.
And I take pride in I think you remember this one, but I take pride in that camp. I loved running that. It was that's one of the things I miss with the center anyway too, running those camps. But anyway, I remember Warren, who with Dartfish.
That's right.
He was involved in the camp. Warren, great guy. Huh? This guy's so busy.
Yeah.
He's doing unbelievable things with his Dartfish program and all these things, tennis analytics. So he and Bruno at lunchtime would hit because Warren is a good player. He was a good college player. And the first time him and Bruno were hitting at lunch, they were hitting that towards the end of lunch, and I was bringing all the players back on court for warm-ups or whatever it was. And, I'm the camp leader, Mr. Big, working with all these.
That's right.
I'm the camp leader, like this. And Bruno just yells out in front of all the kids. He's like, "Dean, 0-0. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Warren against you."
There goes your respect in front of the kids.
I'm like, "Why you say this in front of all? I'm the camp leader."
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, this was Bruno.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we were so close, and it was just, I missed that about Bruno a lot. I missed those interactions, how we'd go back and forth. It's tough. It's still tough.
Yeah, it's not easy, man.
Yeah.
It's when somebody goes just like in the way he did. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to, laugh at these moments because this is what I remember him as, and I think about him every day.
No, for sure. It's important to keep his memory alive, and just keep talking about it because he's part of us. His name is still on the glass,
right?
At the center, and the quote in the gym, and like all the things that he has done. He'll like the kids. So nice to see the kids always like putting in a story like every year.
Yeah,
it's the impact that he had on them is
amazing.
Yeah,
and for a young guy, how he's remembered. Such a young guy. I mean, he lived a full life for such a young guy.
That's right. So many accomplishments.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible. But continuing, because that was the big chunk of your life was at the center, and that's why I'm bringing up Bruno, and that's why I'm bringing up all these like team events. But after the center, you started working more privately and more with the even younger players, or you have a mix now? Like, can you talk a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I had an offer to work with a 15-year-old player in the United States, but it just didn't feel right at the time.
Okay,
leaving the center, and then now I'm working under an academy here in Woodbridge, out of the Vanado Club. And, this is what I've been doing the last 2 years. And I spoke to Bobby Mahal, who's the leader of that. He's the owner of that academy. He was really anxious to get me on board when he heard I was done with the center. And I said to Bobby, you know what? Looking back for the ages I was working with at the center, I would really like to play a role now with younger kids again.
Okay.
I thought, why not give it one more go? Right? So as we speak, I mean, 17 players, I think, 18 young kids I assist, we'll say privately, we'll talk, if you want to talk it that way. And most are 12 and under.
Any like boys, girls?
Mixture. again, a good chunk of, I'd say 3/4 are girls.
Okay.
And then the rest boys. And a few not bad ones. I know there's one that's going to be playing on one of your tours coming up in New York.
Yeah, we're going to New York for a team competition on that one. Yeah.
And one of my girls is invited. That she's super excited, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm so happy for her being invited with that. She had a great winter season. She won the provincial championships.
Yeah.
For Ontario and under 12. Had some very good wins there, and yeah, she's excited. I think she has some. I'd say, I mean, it's tough under 12 to say, but some potential.
Yeah,
she's a good player. Big game.
I mean, that's what you want to have. That's what, as a coach, you want to believe in your player.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to think that your player has a potential, because otherwise, like, how are you getting motivated to work with that player?
Right.
That's the whole point of working with whoever you're working with. Like, you think that, man, this girl can be so much better. Let's go on court, and then you start working with her, and
right, because
you have to have that passion. If you don't believe in the player,
right,
what are you doing then? Like, it's kind of a waste of time, anybody's time, and that's when you see those dry lessons, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Just like, but regardless, out of all these kids, I have some her level, some a little bit, let's say, okay, not quite that level. They're all very competitive. We'll say in the Ontario higher mix, nationally in the mix, but I'm lucky enough now to be able to sort of choose who I work with. Basically, I mean, I assist in the groups, which is part of my program with the academy. I assist in the evening with different groups with different ages, but privately, I can basically pick and choose who I work.
And that's what I see when I talk to high level coaches, when experienced coaches, and where they know they're pretty much. They have a clear idea of their own values, and they have clear vision of the player that they want to work with, and it has nothing to do with the level,
right?
Which is, I find, very interesting. And I'm just curious, like, if somebody wants to coach by Dean Coburn, what does that player have to possess? Like, what are the player's values that you're looking for, so that they can connect with you better?
Right. I mean, they have to have a certain level of skill set, I'd say. Because of my experience, I'd say a certain level of skill set. That doesn't have to be extremely advanced, but regardless, I mean, we have to click. I think I have to enjoy spending time on the court with them. That's most important. Their work ethic, coachability. For me, that's number one.
What does that? What do you put in that word? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but just for the viewers to elaborate.
For example, I have a handful of players that are not involved in our academy. This was strange to me, by the way. We spoke about it a little bit. There's kids that are playing in academies and seeking other coaches. Mm-hmm. This is another topic for another time. But anyway, it doesn't always work out great. But I tell you, for example, this one player we spoke about going on that tour with you in New York. She does her groups in another academy, let's say. But when you talk about coachability, we work on a few things. She goes to her group on her own while I'm not paying attention to, or I don't see what's happening, but she's able to work on it. And then the next week, we don't have to continue.
That's right.
We can move on to other things. And this is coachability, in my opinion. It's being able to say things once, twice, 3 times maybe. But if you find you're repeating something over and over and over, and you don't see them improving that's for me, that's not coachability. And you spoke about values. Attitude, for sure, is the number one also.
Can you elaborate on that as well?
They enjoy practice. They enjoy the moment. They enjoy putting in the work. Process oriented, not so much result oriented, and just enjoying practice. This is, for me, one of the most important things in working with a player.
Yeah.
We spoke about before, having fun.
That's right.
I enjoy putting in work. Yesterday, as you know, you saw me leaving here sometimes 6, 7, 8 hours in a row on a Saturday. I like to enjoy putting in work with those players one after the other.
Of course.
And I think they need to enjoy putting in the process, enjoy the process also.
I think you cannot last in this industry a long time, and like in a healthy way, if you're putting in so much work on the weekend, if you're not enjoying it as a coach.
Right.
Because it goes back and forth, that energy, that enjoyment, that fun, it goes back and forth
for sure
between the player and the coach. If the player is not having fun, if he's not or she's not bringing that work ethics, that positive attitude, and that desire to improve, then you're feeling it and you're getting irritated, and then it repeats. The pattern repeats, and then you multiply it by several weeks, and then at the end of the day, you're like, why am I doing this?
Right. For example,
and if you have 8 of those,
no, that's it. Exactly. And regardless of level, again, when I feel that you're in a practice and they, let's say 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, whatever it is, whatever block you choose to work with a player, and that time is going by so fast, that tells you. I mean,
that's right.
That tells you right away.
Yeah. And
anytime you feel like you're going through the motions, and then you start feeding balls like you see sometimes, and there's no engagement, and you know, it gets to be a little bit like that, that's when I know it's probably not right to work with a player like this.
Right.
When you feel that, you know, you're just kind of going through the motions.
That's right.
And then that's when time goes slow and it's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
So with the players I have, I love it when the time goes fast and you're into it and you're there and the players engage and you joke and you work and you really, really want the player to get better in that hour.
That's right.
And that's when things go so great. And that's when it becomes, you know, beautiful almost.
And when you get home after that hard day work.
That's it. It feels so good.
And then you get those messages that you were showing me.
Oh, yeah. Like, what was the other one the other day? Oh,
I mean, like, you know, like you show them to me like all the time, that like how players are just appreciative. How, oh my God, Dean, like it was so much fun. Thank you for helping me. Like,
yeah, that never gets tiring.
That felt so good. You know, that forehand, or you know, it's just
the other one.
What a feeling.
Two twins the other day. They said, thanks for making us feel like superstars.
That's right.
I mean, right. I mean, how does that get tiring?
That's right. No,
and then it makes you want to do it again the next day and all these things.
Exactly. Those things give you so much energy and so much
what
motivation. And you want to come earlier next time to see how they're doing their warm up, and you just kind of like get involved a little bit. And,
like we spoke about. And then that's when I would say, let's come a little bit earlier. Don't worry about the call. Like just come a little bit earlier, and we can do a little bit more physical preparation.
That's right.
And then, you know what? I can ask the next person to come a little bit longer so we can spend a bit more time in the serve. No problem. You know? And this is, you want to give more, and you want to climb mountains for kids like this.
Exactly.
You know, versus ones that are just kind of there going through the motions. And then you feel like you're going through the motions.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned that, because I think it's important to talk about it. You said the kids that are coming to, and it's a common thing, they come to the group academy, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then Mondays they're in the second academy, Wednesdays, Fridays they're at another one, and then they have Saturday have a completely different private coach. This is maybe like a radical example, but these things happen.
And this is new to me. I mean, coming from a center, this was something, as you know, when we worked together.
That's right.
We had the.
So what's your take on that?
I mean, I try to make it work the best it can, but at the end of the day, is it best to be able to see the kids in group and work with them privately? Of course. Yeah. I'm going to say 100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
You got to be able to see what they're doing on a daily basis. And then you can add those little things. You know, you can do a little cleanup during the group training, during point play. You see something. Okay, you know what? Next practice, we could spend maybe 10 minutes on this. These things, you know, you miss out on when you don't see them through the week, you know, for example.
Why people doing? Do you know? Like, do you talk to the parents, or?
I asked. You know what? I did. I said, "What's going on?" I asked some of the Ontario. No, I did. When I first started as a provincial coach again, I asked some of the provincial coaches, and they said, "Yeah, it happens with us too." And they said, "What's happening is that players are going to the academies to play with the players.
So it's just like a hitting thing.
They don't care about the
coaching
content, the program." They just want them to go to they go to the academies to hit with players that are maybe their level or higher.
So it's organized hitting.
Right. So, and then they go to the coaches based on, you know, for the coaching. That's what they told me anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like it's hard to develop like this now with different messages and different, you don't have consistency, and the kid doesn't feel like there's home somewhere, like it's like that comfort environment of development, of support, of just kind of like having like a home base, so to say.
Right. And in the academy system, like when I started years ago, it wasn't like that. I remember it being where everybody would train with a coach in their academy. So coming out of working with a pro player, and then out of our regional center, this is strange. This is something new to me. Mm-hmm. And apparently it's happening a lot. Apparently I was asking other coaches from the internationally about it, and they say it's happening a lot in the United States, for example.
In the United States, I think
it's happening a lot.
It's even
they just go to different spots.
That's right.
It's like, I'm going to go here for this to play this player. I'm going to go here to this player, and then this is my coach here, and it's like.
Is it because you think? Like, I'm just trying to understand, like, how can we make it better as coaches, and is it the fault of the academy that they don't enforce the rules? And they say, you know what? If you come to us, it's full, and like the center, like when you come to the federation, for example, like your last year 14s, like
right.
Okay, you know what? You either with us or see ya.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the way. I mean,
if we're talking development, if we're not talking,
right.
let's make some cash here.
Right.
If we're talking development, you think
that's the right way.
Okay.
No, it's the right way, and this is where it's funny coming from a professional men's side. That side, now back into the academy side, I've kind of seen all the different angles.
That's right. That's why I'm asking you, because it's interesting.
I think that's got to be the right way. It's the only way.
Yeah.
And, you know,
you feel like academies they're afraid to lose money if they enforce these rules, or they just want to be as flexible as possible because again it provides more.
I think so.
Yeah, just to being flexible.
Yeah, I mean. But the group that I'm involved with now, hopefully it's going to change.
Which makes
more.
sense. I mean, you give the parent the option to, hey, you can just sign up for
right.
1 day. Some of the parents will
right.
sign up for 1 day.
And you know what I think with a lot of these academy leaders is I think when they have a player that's at a certain level, let's say a high level in the country or in the province, I think they find that as a draw also. And then, oh my gosh, if this player is playing there, oh, you hear so and so is playing there. Okay, so maybe we'll join that.
Okay.
Academy, because that's there's some good girls there. There's some very good strong boys.
True.
Or
I remember when I was at the working with Tyler,
right?
And one of the girls that we worked with, she started improving a lot, and you could see like so many girls coming in just because
right.
of her. And it's the same trend for any other player. You know, you feel like it's normal. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's absolutely normal because everybody wants to gravitate to success.
Right.
Everybody wants to be closer to where the results are happening, and especially parents who are spending money investing in their child, they want certain success. So
no, for sure.
I feel it's normal, but at the same time there has to be some consistency and there has to be a voice.
Right.
Like some coach or somebody saying,
right,
educating them a little bit, not just gonna.
Yeah, and using the players that I spoke about as an example. I mean, I think it's crucial. Eventually, it's not working that way now, but eventually, I'd like to be able to see them one-on-one, and then also
that's right
throughout the week.
Yeah,
in every environment and at the tournaments and these things. And I think that's the recipe for success. I think you can't just be doing this one place here, one place there.
That's right.
And then you have one coach. I had one girl, for an example. We're working on something on our serve, and it's something as simple as like she comes back the next week and she's doing this exaggerated like turn with her arm, and I said, what the heck happened with the serve? It was so good.
So
like she
simple.
said a certain coach told me to turn more, and then it's like this is where again it's the frustration part of the next week, and then you have to sort of go back to where you were and explain it in the right way, because I don't want to be one of those coaches. I'm not one of those coaches that are going to say, don't listen. Like, oh,
no, exactly.
And then I said, I'll go speak to the coach. And like we did at the center, I try to be correct in that way and communicate with the other coaches, but it's not perfect. Of course, there's going to be coaches saying things that didn't get caught up in the conversation. And
that's right.
Just by saying something is turn more, her serve completely went away, and it's like these are the things that are a challenge.
Yeah,
with some players anyway,
and especially like I know that some, and I'm not saying in Canada, all over the world, some players would have like a serving coach, or
right.
Like they would go into these details. Like to me, it just
thank God it hasn't happened where Dean's the good for the. We go see Dean for the volley or something like this.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Like I saw one kid. They said one kid the other in the winter. I said, "Who is this girl hitting? Who's with this guy working with this girl in our group?" And they said, "Well, they see him because he's the technical coach." It's like,
yeah.
But I go, he's not even working on technique.
Yeah.
What do you mean technical coach? So, you know how it is. It's like.
So when you're working with the player, let's say you're leading you're 18 players. Yeah. And.
Well, I'd say, like I said, assisting personal coach of 18 now.
Yeah. So let's say you're leading them, right? So
Right.
you're in charge of their development. What are the things that you're prioritizing if you start working with
that age?
Let's say 12, 13, you spend a lot of time at the center leading girls at that age. So what are the things that are so important for you? Like, if you could maybe name top 3.
I'd say I know one that stands out right away.
Okay, that's
First
great.
thing is that I see a lot of coaches teaching technique without tactics.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most important with young kids, even 12, 13, is I think it's fair to say that in every situation when I work with kids, it's through tactics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important for kids to understand tennis is a game.
Yes.
And you understand that you develop your technique within the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on this shot, this is what you need to do a little bit more. Okay, so this is it. So I think everything has to be more of, you have to put in a tactic.
Yes.
And I don't see a lot of coaches doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I really try to pay attention to that, to every kid's plan, that whatever you're working on has to be within a tactical sort of context,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. That's one. Also, fundamentals. I learned from you guys and Andre. My God, you got to have the fundamentals down. I'd say that's...
Well, Andre is like the king of...
I'd say that's right up there with the last thing I was speaking about, what I learned. And, I really hope that there's none of these 17 players, I speak about 18 players, whatever it is, that I hope that when they move along, that there's nothing that stands out as something that needs to be a major fix later.
Like a red flag. Oh my God, this kid has a red flag.
Right.
Or
grips or swing path, like many hitting zone, as you want to call it. I call it magic 20 centimeters, but anyway. Whatever you want to call it. There's no red flags like we used to say back in the day.
That's right.
And like you and I worked at the center, it's very tough at 14, 15 years old players to make big changes.
Yeah.
As you know, it's like making grip changes and things like this at 14 is very, very tough. So I think try to have the great skills fundamentally. And if you said 3, so I'd say last is footwork.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most important element in tennis is movement. So I try to spend a lot of time on that through the tactics and through the technique.
Okay. And what about the mental abilities of the player? Like, do you believe a kid like who is 12 or 13 can change dramatically? Like, let's say the kid is not competing well, or the kid is whining all the time, or do you believe in like a drastic 180 change?
I believe it can happen.
Okay.
I mean, I'll go back with Peter. He wasn't terrible in that way, but at 12, 13, he was really struggling with that.
Really?
And with the help of Debbie, actually, back in the day, I asked Debbie for help as a young coach. Mm-hmm. Debbie Kirkwood back with you guys at the center, because she and I did the under 12s back in the late 90s,
mm-hmm.
and we ran the under 12 program back then. Anyway, the camps anyway, and I remember I was always like, Debbie, Peter's doing this, and she helped me pay attention to it in matches as far as the ups and downs and making him aware. I was charting so much, making him aware of it, and then at 13 and a half, 14, he started to get it,
mm-hmm.
and that's when he started winning matches easily, just by he was letting all the other kids sort of lose it mentally, and he would just keep it together, and then he started finding that's when his consistency went up in his shots, and that's when his results started going up.
Okay, Debbie's passion for analytics goes way back, with the charting, and because she's involved a lot with the working with Warren right now,
and she helped me a lot on the mental side with Peter. It was great, and a lot of it had to do with charting and just making him aware. And he made a big change in that when he was 12 years old.
Okay,
and at 14, became one of those guys that was sort of like a Bruno,
mm-hmm.
that was just like, you could never crack this guy mentally. He was just always like very calm in the moment. And 2 years, he really, really got much better at that.
Have you seen anybody else change like this in your career?
I didn't. I had Dennis under 12 Orange Bowl for
mm-hmm.
10 with us at the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't perfect mentally, 12 and under.
Yeah,
he wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfectly in the moment. He had his ups and downs in that way.
That's right.
I mean, he's doing not bad now.
Well, Adriana did unbelievable job. I mean, the stuff that I want to invite him for the show, because he has a lot of things to say.
And I'd say he plays a huge part in that way. And maybe,
That's
I mean,
right.
I don't even think it's arguable. I mean, that's probably the biggest, that's what got Dennis through.
Yeah. Oh, 100,000%. For sure.
I mean,
sure.
It's not his forehand, like his technique. It's
I mean,
that
he's
right.
good technically. But
right. It's that part.
Mentally, he's pretty strong, like with Adriana.
And he wasn't.
Made him work through.
And I was with him at 12 at the center. Wasn't as personal. I wasn't assigned to him. I was more with the girls' side, but I did some tours with him. And yeah, it was a bit of a struggle, I remember, with him then, at 12 and under anyway. He was sort of easily thrown off, you know?
Okay.
He, not only in matches.
Yeah. I mean, it's for a younger kid, it's kind of normal, right?
And it's normal.
It's not like...
Yeah, I'm not saying Dennis. It's like, it was something that was...
Yeah. I mean, everybody's like at 12. They're still figuring out themselves. And
you should see some of these kids I work with now.
That's right.
In matches. Great kids. Unbelievable off the court, but, you know, when they're on the court, you know how it goes with tennis and these young kids.
Of course. And what does it take for you to stop working with a player? Like, what are the big no-nos, or what are the big things that you're just looking at and like, you know what, it's time for me to step out. Sorry.
I feel like if I'm not making a very good impact or a very big impact, if I see that there's not a big improvement, I think, okay, maybe it's me. I usually, for the most part, never think it's the player. I'd say, you know what, we're not clicking here. I don't see much of an improvement in the last, let's say, 6 months as an example.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work, that might be a time to maybe step away. I haven't stepped away with many kids, but I'm just thinking if I had to, that's what I would do. And the other is, the enjoyment on the court. I'd say that's the number one. So if young kids, are they going to have a great practice and everything's going to be so nice and fun all the time? Of course not.
Exactly.
But if it turns, let's say, 10 practices and 8 out of 10, let's say, it's where you're constantly telling the player, come on, let's go. It's okay. Come on. And they're constantly getting on themselves and negative. And they're having, let's say, 2 out of 10 days where everything's not bad. In that way, I'd say, okay, that's maybe... Because it's not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun for you as well.
It's not fun. And the player's not developing. Of course, everybody's having bad days. But if they're greatly outnumbering the good days, then I think for me, it's... You know what?
Yeah.
If I'm not seeing a big change in their level, change in their in the mental side, not enjoying, not putting in the work because of the negative attitude, that gets too. For me, that's too tough.
Yeah, I think the key moment here is when you feel like you're doing more than the player, and that's like a big sign,
right,
for things to get.
And like I spoke about earlier, about what's so good is that the time, you start looking at the clock.
That's right.
Let's be honest, huh?
Yeah.
It happens. You start looking and when I start feeding balls, and it's like, you know what I mean by feeding balls for people that are listening. It's just like you're doing a drill, doing your exercise, but the player's not engaged, and then you start to shut down. It's a terrible feeling as a coach.
That's right.
And if that happens, like I said, 8 out of 10 practices,
no, you want it to be fun for everybody.
Yeah, and then
that's not part of who you are, because then again, I know you. We talked about it earlier, that you're this Mr. Positive guy. You're engaged. You want to be like joking, and you want to be active. You want to be pushing when it needs to be. But if it's
because it works, because players develop that way.
Exactly. But if you feel like you're dragging the person kind of along this journey, then
I spoke to a lot of coaches internationally about this, and it happens at every level. In pro tennis too. I mean, it gets to a point, if you're working with a pro player and it's like this day in and day out, my gosh, it becomes so tiring.
It becomes a chore. It becomes like you're not playing this fun game.
No,
it's not becoming like a privilege. It becomes the chore.
Yeah, and I'd say if I'm driving to a tennis practice and I'm thinking, you know what, I really don't want to go on the court right now. That's normally, it wouldn't be a good sign.
Yeah.
Normally.
That's how you know.
Right? And I know a lot of coaches are doing that, and they think of it, okay, it's okay. I know, I just think through it. I know I'm getting paid. Just get through this hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is. But I don't think it's worth it. If there's a lot of young, eager kids, regardless of the level, that would love to have your time and your energy.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I'd much rather spend time with players like this.
Oh, for sure.
Regardless of level.
I think you have to stay professional, and you have to have the respect for the player you're working with, and respect for yourself to say no sometimes.
Right.
When you feel like it has to be said.
And like I said, for young kids, if it ever gets to a point like this, I take full blame.
Yeah.
But it's just I couldn't get through to the kid. What am I going to do?
Exactly. And looking back, because you had so much experience, again, working for the federation, working with the pro player, in groups, private, now you're going back to on the private side, working with these kids. Like, is there like a certain experience that you wish you had now, or like you enjoyed the most, or is there anything in particular, or you enjoyed all of that? And
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I wish I went back. If I had to go back, I wish I would do things a little bit more. Obviously, most people say I would do much more. The approach of the way I coach players, I would do that much more in the past.
Okay.
What I'm doing now, I would have loved to do that a little bit more with Peter. I would have loved the things. As a young coach, I've learned a lot, and yeah, I wish I could go back and correct some of the things that I know now.
Yeah.
And be on him about and my knowledge of the game now, and meeting so many great coaches around the world and learning from them all. I wish I had that when I was 23 years old. Obviously, yeah. I wish I could go back and change a few things for sure on the court, the way I was working with the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's like you can take the best practice from all those experiences. Like when you travel internationally, there's nothing better than just looking at the world-class tennis and speaking to the coaches.
For sure. And then, with a kid today, if something's not going right, you can sort of switch to something different because of experience.
Yeah.
It's not, like I said, I was more by the books.
That's right.
And like I see a lot of these coaches in the academies now. It's like they're like that, and then it's like that, and there's no. If something's not going right, to be able to improvise, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do a much better job of that. And I think that's important in coaching.
Yeah. Well, because you learn that to do on the road. When you're on the road, like you have to improvise every day.
Right, and I learned from Debbie and Bob at the center.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I think great coaching is an art.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
And you never nail it.
No.
Like that's the interesting part about it. You have the moments, like for example, Sylvain Bruno. Like the first thing that comes to my mind when he was coaching Bianca at Indian Wells final, like that speech, that he gave to Bianca. Like it's just like you listen to it, and she just turns around the match, and you're like, holy shit, that was unbelievable.
Right.
Like moments like this. I don't know if I had that moment yet as a coach. I don't know if I did.
Mm-hmm.
So you work, you improve, to hopefully get to the point when you get this unbelievable breakthrough as a coach. Like as in like you do everything perfect. Like you say exactly what you need to say in the exact moment where the person needs to hear it, and then you see this result happening.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, at the most important moment. Like
exactly.
Any better moment to do great coaching other than third set of the
without
final?
Panicking and all these things, and you're feeling for the player, and then your nerves are kicking in because you want them to go, and then there's so many things going on there.
Exactly. So you always continue to improve, and because you want to be ready for that moment. And I feel like it's so important as a coach to continue. Like there's so many people, everybody's saying that, to continue learning and continue.
Right. That's why I was hesitating a bit, but. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could go back and be able to sort of, treat it more like an art and be a little bit able to, okay, if Peter wasn't understanding this idea, come on, like doing it in a good way to make it, to help make him get it, but really make him believe,
Yeah. It's
such a fine line. Instead of telling, how many times you heard coaches, but I told them, I told the player to do this,
It's such a fine line though, like as in the moment.
Yeah,
I have players right now that I'm coaching, and I'm catching myself just like let's go, like don't give me that stuff, like let's get going here. But is that the right thing? Like sometimes maybe.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe not.
Right.
Maybe
It depends.
It's like it's this subtle feeling that you have to catch, and maybe that's the moment where you're just having a 10-minute break and talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and just like, and when you see the, you know, the top of the game coach's work, and you're like, man, that's exactly the moment where you say what he said, and that's exactly the moment when you do that, and when you throw in a joke, and when you,
right,
it's like we brought up Oded. Like it's the same thing with him. I watched him coach at ITF event. He was with a girl, and she was just warming up, and she missed a couple overheads, and he didn't say, "Okay, get behind the ball," or like throw in like some violent joke. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he just joked about it, and she was like, next couple overheads, she made it.
This is what I'm talking about.
This is coaching.
That's it.
This is the art of coaching that you're referring to.
Right. And a lot of these, you know, books, academy coaches,
but it's hard to fucking feel it. Yes. It's so hard to feel it.
It's so easy to say, you know, left arm up, get under the ball, crossover step, whatever the hell it is that went wrong. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to talk to them like this over and over and over.
That's right.
But you just have to feel the moment, feel the situation, know the player. Not so easy.
But for that,
you can't teach that in books. I tell you.
But you have to be in that situation.
Yeah, that's what
we talked about, not to kind of turn it into a routine, and to really be in the moment. It's hard to be. You have to be in the moment. You have to be like really caring, observing, and not to check out, not to kind of you know, like whatever the time is, to think about maybe it's just time to go.
Right. What am I eating for dinner tonight?
Yeah, exactly. Or I have to call Caddy or whatever.
Right. Exactly. If that's when you know it's not going so well.
That's right. When those thoughts start to creep in.
For most of the practice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And we all know that happens, you know. I'm sure it happens with everybody.
I mean, at some point, like if you're, like we've all had practices where like it's not enjoyable.
Right.
Unfortunately. You still push, you still do, like nobody will tell. Like this is the interesting part, that nobody from the outside would tell that, you know, you're still delivering like unbelievable job.
Right.
But deep down, you know, you're not the same.
For sure.
Maybe instead of like your like 100%, it's maybe 95. You're still right. You're still there. You're still like, but it's just, it doesn't feel right. Mm-hmm. Just from your value standpoint, like something is going not the way you want. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Bob used to say that to us back in the day, referencing him again. He would say, you know, Dean, have you checked out? And I said, no, I never check out. I always stay late. I never, you know, he goes, I don't mean that. He goes, I mean here. And he points to my
and I was like,
and he was talking about checking out mentally, and I'm trying to think, I don't know, did he notice that I was thinking about that TV show tonight for a few minutes? Or just right now, I was thinking about that on the court.
That's right.
Maybe he saw it.
Maybe he felt it. Because
maybe
he knows.
He felt it.
Because he did it also. Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe not.
He goes, are you checking out early? He says to me. And as you know me defending. No.
That's right.
I never leave. Are you kidding
getting
me?
defensive, getting like this aggressive a little bit almost.
A little bit aggressive.
A little bit aggressive,
not really,
right away.
But
on the end, on the edge.
Yeah, because I was one of the, Bruno and I usually stayed always a little bit past.
That's right.
Come on, Bob. No.
Goes, but you guys were a crazy schedule back then, no? You started at 7.
Yeah, but back then, remember, like you guys don't do as much now. We were able to work sort of. It was okay to work with the 12 and unders at that time, so we had bigger groups, more regroupings, and all these things. So yeah, but we were working mornings too. Mm-hmm. I had Bianca 2 mornings, 2 7 a.m.s a week.
Wow. And
another girl her age, another 2000 born, Anka. If you remember her, she's going to college, doing great in college, very well. I think they just won an event just recently, and so we had 7 a.m.s and then evenings.
When did you finish?
I can't remember. I think it was around 6:30 p.m. 7.
So that's a long day.
Yeah.
What would you do after 7 a.m. lesson?
Either do work,
just office
work, or Land and I would sometimes go home.
Okay.
Because we had a little bit of a block until 1:30.
Okay.
Is that what you guys still do? You still do 1:30?
Yeah, we do 1:30. So you guys didn't
it was 1:30s.
You wouldn't have 10 o'clock, right? You would just...
No, we had 7 a.m.s.
Okay.
But Bob had us do 3 to 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
He agreed too that we could doing 5. It was too much, so we split it up.
Okay.
To 3 to 4 mornings.
Okay.
So I had 3. I don't know why that's funny, but
how's that unfair?
Anyway, I had 3, 2 with Bianca and 1 with Anka. But not bad, huh? Lan and I were in charge of those 12 and unders.
Yeah.
Bianca's turning out not bad, huh?
Fun work, projects.
Boy. Yeah. Oh boy, really good. She was a great to work with in those mornings.
I was gonna say, like, how was she when she was younger?
12 and under, unbelievable. Such a nice kid. Enjoyed every practice. No stress.
Mm-hmm.
Just like enjoyed putting in the work.
Really?
Never had a bad practice with her. I can't remember one. Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember one. And for, I think, Landon, 2 years almost, we were in charge of those 2000 born girls.
Mm-hmm. So she would be like that player that we talked about that you want to have and you want to coach, that with those attitudes and those values. And
you know what stood out about her too when competing? I remember this when she won the first ITF. Clement asked me to go to the final. He was with her the whole week, but couldn't go for whatever reason. He had to go on the road. And then I went to watch her play the final. Funny moment. I walk in and she's warming up for the match and she's like, "Hi, Dean." She's waving it to me. I said, "Focus. You're in a final. It's in a match right now, you." I don't know. I remember that again.
I don't know what I remember about Bianca and ITF.
Which one?
It's your story when you were late.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that I was supposed to go to the final. She thought I was going to be warming her up for this final.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll tell you this one.
It's a funny story, man.
Christoph said, "Can you just watch Bianca in the final tomorrow? I have to travel." And I said, "No problem. I'll be there." So let's say it was a 10 a.m. final. Burlington's about 45 minutes away. So it was around 9:15. And Bianca, my phone ringing, it's buzzing. And then she says, "Dean, which court are we on to hit?" And I go, "I don't know. I'm in my bathroom in Thornhill right now." I don't know which court you're talking about. Are you talking about the one at the center? She said, "No, my court to warm up for the final. Christoph said you were warming me up." I'm like, I'm in my bathroom in Thornhill.
I've heard this story like at least 6 times. I still laugh.
So I'm driving like a madman to Burlington. Like, I just said, "Talk to Mike Hall, who's a coach over there that I know." And I said, "Just get one of the girls to hit." And this is where she's very, very cool. Mm-hmm. And as a young kid, not stressing. Oh my God, my coach didn't come. And already having these thoughts in her head to
lay the excuses for the final,
like a lot of young kids that aren't strong in that way would be like, "Oh my God, my coach didn't come to," and there's a lot of kids, as you know, that would think like this. Anyway, she comes there and she's happy just to see me, that was the funny part. She's like, "Hi, Dean." Mm-hmm. And it's like, "Focus, come on, get ready." And anyway, what I remember about this final, it went to 7-6 in the third.
So that's when she won it.
She won that first ITF.
That was her first win. It links to that story. Okay,
right.
Okay, I had that.
And she also played. She also played an older player that I was assigned with at the center, Katerina, in the final.
Okay,
who was arguably favored in that match because Bianca was only 14.
Cup challenge?
Cup challenge. Okay. Another girl playing, another great kid. Take great pride in putting a lot of work in with her in the beginning years at the center. Anyway, doing great in college also. And I remember Bianca playing this tiebreaker and just playing loose. Mm-hmm. This is what I remember. And this is what I still say today is the difference. Didn't change how she played. Not careless, but just playing. Mm-hmm. Regardless that it was 6-all in the third, in the breaker, she's down, whatever it was, 3-2. I can't remember what it was in the score in the breaker. But I remember playing loose and then the other player just playing a little bit tight, hoping not to lose. Okay. And for me, that's what stood out. Mm-hmm. I said, this girl has something special. She just competes regardless. Not worrying, not stressing. No, just enjoying the battle. Yeah. And then soon after, she won the Tarbs, Yeah. Big tournament.
That's a big win.
And I think that from there, with the confidence and just enjoying playing, she just kept moving up. And she really separated herself from the other girls in the program.
Yeah, I remember.
At around 14.
Yeah. When I came to the center, I think that's the year she won Tarbs, like that.
Yep.
So 9 months after I came, or 8 months. And like she was just, her mindset was different than any other kid that I've seen. Like she was just very mature, very into like development and focusing on getting better. And like she was very healthy, like oriented for the development of her own skills, abilities, and reading books that are like what are you, 20, like reading those books? Like she was like really into finding any way to improve.
Yeah, carrying around that notebook, her gear, everything organized as a junior, which is not bad. Huh? Writing down for every match a game plan about knowing, asking about her opponent. She would message me, do you know much about this girl? What does she do? Like, really taking care of those things.
That's right.
As a young player. And we're talking 15, 14.
Yeah, that's right. That's so important. And going back to that funny story, like it's a funny story, but at the end, like how she managed that warm up on her own.
She's like, it's okay.
She's
no
like,
problem.
Whatever. I'll figure it out. That's the creativity part that we talked about in the very beginning.
Right. And a lot of players that aren't that strong in that way, they'll already use that, as you said, as an excuse set to, if they lose the match.
Well, I have this one thing.
Yep. And they sometimes go into the match thinking this and having that saying, how did this happen? How was that mess up? You know, now I'm messed up for this match, and well, you know how that leads when kids think like this.
That's right. So that's our job to make them aware of that and to make sure they develop stronger character from experiences like this. So, what's your plans now as a coach? Where are you going? Because you've had again such a rich career and you're still pretty young as a coach. So
I consider this right now, I mean, I'm enjoying this. I think for me right now, it's the right move to start with young kids again. We'll see where this goes. I mean, I'm enjoying it right now, but like I said, I consider this a transition. I'm enjoying it. I really enjoy putting in the work with these young kids. So like I said, hopefully I can give it one more go, and maybe we'll see if we get one to go one more time.
So you want to, you see yourself developing another, like a high level junior and then transitioning to pro. You want to go another round, like you did with Peter.
I mean, for a young guy like me, why not?
Yeah, exactly. What you were saying, 30 something?
29.
Late 30s?
29. Pushing the big 30 next year, buddy.
Exactly.
Catching up to you.
Yeah.
No, mid to late 40s, we'll say. But it's still okay.
Yeah.
And in coaching, I feel like I'm just hitting I still think haven't reached my prime yet.
No, I mean, are you kidding me? There's so many coaches out there. Like,
experience means so much. So
exactly.
And just getting there, just starting.
Yeah, no, for sure, because it's you can do it for like at least like 20, 25 years, like at least. Yeah. Like there's coaches who are even older than that.
I think so. I think I'll be one of those guys that does it, even if it's not full time. I'm going to keep going. I mean, I enjoy it too much.
Yeah, exactly. You go to Florida every year, like you see Boletieri, like on courts, like till this day, like he's so passionate he can't leave the court. That's amazing. That's so inspiring.
I was at Eddie Hur with our team, I remember 2 years ago, and just seeing him, still says, "Hi, Dean from Canada. How are your boys doing?" And what a guy. Yeah. And I tell you, you know how it is at Eddie Hur. You get there at break of dawn, not even break of dawn. It's dark out at night. Yeah,
the warm-ups there. Like you arrive there for like 6 o'clock. Right. You already see some kids running laps.
Correct. So you start hitting in the dark. I mean, they have lights on those courts, but you're warming up in the dark, and then you go check in with your player. The players go check in, and you walk into that little tent or whatever, that little building by the gym. Yeah. And you see Nick in there. This guy.
Yeah, I know.
You see him at 7 a.m. on the court.
That's the Army background, He's what time? Like, it doesn't matter what time.
Yeah. So whatever you say about Nick, I mean, his work, another guy, all the greats, they have this great work ethic,
Yeah, exactly.
So
speaking about work ethics, every Sunday I wake up, I go on my Instagram, and I check the stories and I see your story, like, just finished my 10K run. And I was like, shut up, man. I'm just waking up. You already finished your 10K run. Like, every Sunday. Like, what motivates you to run and to work out like this?
I like it to start my day. Mm-hmm. If I have a day off, if I'm not at a tournament.
Yeah.
Aside from the sore knees, sore back, sore groin, It makes me feel good.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
And today you got burned also.
I said sunburn today.
You like it? But you were always big on running, eh? Like you really
like it. I like it. I'm trying to stay. I think it's important in coaching to stay. I think it's important to be a coach that's not, you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
In as far as I mean, as you get older, it gets tougher. But I think it's important to stay fairly fit. You know, I'm still hitting with these kids.
Yeah,
they're young, so I'm hitting with them. It's not like at the center. I wouldn't be hitting with Bianca playing points and stuff like this, but I think it's important to stay fit, that you can hit with your young players. You can drill with them. You can make them run. You can do fitness drills with them and be able to show them what to do.
That's right.
So I do it to try to stay fit, but aside from all the pains and all these things, it makes me feel good, and I want to stay as fit as I can anyway.
It just makes you feel like you still got it. Like you're still like active, and you're showing like some sort of example. And it's like,
I think you have to look like a coach when you're out there. You know, it's like,
of course,
you can. Yeah, when you start to lose it too much, you can't lose your fitness too much, I think.
No, for sure. It's fun to work out with players.
I enjoy it, and I enjoy running these 10Ks in the spring. I love being out in the ravine near our building here.
Yeah.
And in the back in the soccer fields. It's great. I put my music on. You know, I'm a big electronic music fan. I put that on, the house music.
I can see by your T-shirt.
Yes. Great label. And Juna.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nice. Not the hard sort of pounding stuff the kids are listening now.
Like intellectual electro music. Yeah.
It's very nice. It's deep. It's a nice sound, and it's really great to run to or drive to.
You went to their concert, when they were here?
Above and Beyond 3 times.
Yeah. But when they were here, what was it, like January?
Yeah, they were here.
February?
Yeah.
January.
There were some people in the crowd. They're like, it's old school. He's here again. And everyone's like, come hang with us. All the 20-something-year-olds.
That's awesome.
I know every song, and they're like, man, this guy.
The true fan.
This guy's old school.
Yeah.
They call me old school. I don't know why.
I wonder why.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, weirdos.
But I like it. And yeah, like I say, it keeps me young. I like the music, and yeah, it feels good to run, and I get motivated doing those 10Ks. I try to improve my time a little bit. It's nowhere near it was a few years ago, but getting closer.
Yeah, what's your time now?
Right now, it's 53 minutes.
Okay.
And my record's 47. What is it? 47 and change. I don't know.
Are you running any marathons? I mean, not marathons, but any.
I did a 5K.
Like long distance running?
Well, I did a 5K race with my brother-in-law 2 summers ago.
Okay.
And actually, not bad. I finished first in my age group, 40 to 49 in the group. Not bad. 5K, I can push it a little more. 10K, I can. 10K, I slow it down quite a bit. It's tough for me to sustain a high pace, but I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pretty happy to finish first in my.
That's pretty cool. That's a good feeling.
It was just a regional race, something just for fun.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Still feels good to finish first.
Right. Exactly.
Do you do anything else other than running? Do you work out any?
I've been busy on the court. I try to 2 to 3 times a week do the workout in the gym and do weights. Towards the end of the summer, I'm going to get back into the weights. I've missed out in the last 6 weeks. Just been busy on the court, but I plan to include running and back into the weights too.
Because I remember you would used to do like what's the word, like not an interval, but you would do some time on the treadmill, and you would do weights.
Yeah, in the winter I enjoy doing that. I go 1 hour as an example, and then every 2 to 3 minutes the treadmill continues, and I come off and I do a set of an exercise and try to cover a full upper body. So it's like you're combining sort of the cardio, and then you keep the weight lifting up too. Yeah, and it feels great after an hour. You feel like a full workout.
Yeah, for sure.
Is done. So,
and it feels like it's easy once you're on the court, and just you're not feeling. That's the worst feeling. I remember when I came to the center 4 years ago, and I started hitting with the older guys, and I was like out of breath after like 5 minutes, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? Like, I cannot continue like this. So you realize that you have to start working out, and it's just the most terrible feeling when you're out of shape,
right?
And when you're getting out of breath before your player does, and it's like zero respect. You can like, how can you say anything to the player like move your feet? You know, when you're like water break, I guess.
Right.
You know, so it's
just, like they don't chew gum while you're like munching on gum. You know, it's like
exactly. So it's so important to. So it's awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah. And like I said, most of it is I enjoy it. I just enjoy being outdoors. I'm not traveling as much as you know, so I enjoy being outdoors in our spring and summer in Canada.
Yeah,
it's a great time of year. Oh boy.
Yeah, finally we get some sun.
What a day today.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's awesome.
like middle summer. Got a bit too much sun today, but it's all good.
Yeah. Well, Dean, I really appreciate you coming, man. Like, honestly, I had a blast talking to you.
Pleasures, big pleasure, massive from my end. Don't worry.
Yeah, we brought up some interesting stories that I always enjoy bringing up with you because it's so much fun.
Yeah, so many
more will be behind the frame, and
we'll do part 2 another time.
We'll do part 2 maybe later, for sure. Why not? Like, there's so many more stories to tell. But
you're good, man.
Thanks for coming, and all the best to you.
And again, what a setup! I'm proud of you for all this. It's really good work.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
It's gonna go great.
Yeah, thanks a lot.